Hey, welcome back to the Ace Football Academy. This is your Friday Footy Talk for August 1st, 2025. I'm Coach Dunham, joined alongside Coach Hamilton. Coach, we're going to talk about penalty kicks today. The art of the penalty kick. Probably one of the most misunderstood parts of our game.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that's never watched a game could see me like, you run up, you kick it in the goal. I mean, how hard is that? But you and I know it's way more than that. There's pressure involved. There's technique involved. There's mind games and psychology involved. It's one thing just think you just run up and kick it. But everyone watching that game is watching you kick that ball in. So, why are we talking about this today, Coach? Over the weekend, the Women's Euro Championship final, England versus Spain kicked off. Great game. Great game. Ended up going to extra time, and they had to finish it in penalty kicks. England ended up prevailing, taking the championship again. However, during the PKs, I was messaging you, telling you how irritated I was getting by how awful the penalty kicks were being taken.
And I'm going to cut you off for just a second because I feel like when we talk about penalty kicks, and this isn't the first time we've talked about penalty kicks on this podcast, but we don't want to take anything away from what the England and Spain goalkeeper did because they made some solid saves. And they made the saves they are supposed to make, right? But your irritation came from a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, mainly it's their technique. I mean, you could tell a lot of the players had the confidence in what they were doing. But as I tell my players, and I believe you tell your players, don't go up there trying to be fancy. Don't try to fake out the goalkeeper. Pick a spot, stick with it, strike with confidence.
Well, and my proof of that is what Chloe Kelly did for that final, she kicked the final PK that ended up giving England, I think at the 3-1 win. I think it was 3-1 in PKs.
Something like that, yeah.
And so also, folks, think about this. We've talked about penalty kicks a lot, as I mentioned. You kick 10 penalty kicks, and we always talk about how penalty kicks favor the kicker and are hard for the goalkeeper and all those things. They made 4 total between the two teams, right? But anyways, Chloe Kelly's for England, her final shot, it wasn't in the best location, but she hit it with such confidence that it got by the goalkeeper, right? It was such a well-struck ball that it goes in, and you can just tell, this isn't anything new for Chloe Kelly. I think she scored the game winner last year in the Euro, or 2 years ago in the Euros, or whatever it was. So it is all about confidence. And so we've always kind of talked about PKs from the goalkeeper side of things. So I'm excited tonight to get into the shooter side of things.
Yeah, let's start out with the breakdown of your technique here. The first part is the approach. How you're approaching the ball. You and I preach this so many times, placement. Using the inside of your foot, finding that corners, whether you want to go low or go high, you got to find those corners or your side netting. You've also every now and then you see guys come in with their power shots, and they're just coming in and just ripping it. And to be honest, if you know you can keep it on frame, the speed that these guys play that ball is so difficult for that goalkeeper to adjust to.
And that's what Chloe Kelly did. If you go back and watch her final PK,
bullet.
She is just a rocket that the goalkeeper goes the right way, but she's so late that it's already in the back of the net by the time she reacts.
And we'll get into the goalkeepers, but I think some people get frustrated with their goalkeepers not making those saves, but they're only 12 yards away. Well, not 12 yards. It's not as far away as you think it is.
Yeah.
And when you're a goalkeeper and the ball's flying that fast, it is difficult to make those saves. The third approach is the Panenka, which you don't see very often, almost hardly at all.
I loathe.
I agree. You've got talk about confidence.
Yeah.
So those of you not aware, the Panenka is where you run up and gently chip the ball. Of course, you're going to see this in the pros where the keeper is just automatically diving to one side. And so that timing is going to be an issue there on that kick. So you're not really going for the corners. You're just going down the middle, hoping that keeper is making that strong save. You and I aren't big fans of this, but you've got to have confidence and belief before you make that kind of kick.
Yeah, and you're right. Normally that ball goes straight down the middle, right? And it's kind of a two-sided conversation. I think it comes from knowing the goalkeeper you're playing, right? Do I know that goalkeeper Dunham is a guess aside, right? So I know he's going to move no matter what. And so if I know that, I can play a ball right down the middle. I can assume that right before I strike the ball, he's going to go one way or the other. So playing that little soft chip or even a ball or even a hard hit ball right down the middle is going to work because I've studied the goalkeeper and I know the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Coach, let's get into some body mechanics here. Now, a lot of this still has to deal with your approach onto the ball. We see this a lot of times where the stutter step comes into play versus your fluid run up. You're just running up and striking it right off the bat. I'm not a fan of the stutter step. In fact, I would love for them to remove that type of play. I know a lot of people like it because it involves in the art of making that penalty kick. But I think when you run up and just stop, I feel like that's unfair. The favor's already in the kicker already, and now you're trying to get something from that keeper. And I get it. It's all part of the game. However, if you make it work for you, because like you just said, I know that goalkeeper likes to start moving before I kick that ball. So if I can get them to give me a direction that they're heading on that stutter step, I can get an edge that way.
And I think, maybe I'm wrong on this, Coach, but I think that over the course of the last couple of years, they have changed that. They haven't stopped.
They did. So,
but you can't. Once you start moving forward,
you have to be moving forward.
You have to continue to move forward, right?
That's right.
So your stutter step can't be backward anymore. And I think that was what was happening a lot. They'd get right to the ball, and then instead of shooting, they would take a step back, right? And so now you really get. So now I do think they fixed that a little bit with having, once I start moving forward, I have to continue to move forward, right? And I can't come to a complete stop. I think that's also part of the rule. Actually, maybe I got it backwards. Maybe you can move backward, but you can't come to a complete stop. I would have to look up the new rule, but they have tried to fix that. But you are correct. I would rather you pick a spot. You know what you're going to do, and kind of like a 1v1 move, right? I tell my girls all the time, hey, you need to have two spots on a PK. You got to have, but I would rather that fluid run up, and we'll talk into a little bit when we get into the mental aspects of it, but I like the fluid run up. I like the knowing your spot and just putting it away.
The next part of the body mechanics is, again, you and I really believe in this, is your foot positioning. Your plant foot as well as your striking foot completely matter. When we started the episode, I talked about how we tell players, stop trying to fake the goalie.
Yeah.
Just pick a spot and go there. If I put my plant foot facing to the left and I want to go right, I have to have practiced that.
Yes.
We practice already, plant foot, strike it to that spot. But when you're trying to do a fake out or some kind of misdirection type of situation in penalty kicks, if you've never practiced that, it's a higher probability of mis-kicking that ball.
Yeah.
Because your body positioning is throwing you in one direction, you're trying to turn your foot another, and where you strike that ball with the kind of power you like, the chances of you being successful are dropping because of that.
Well, and for me, this is twofold. It also goes back to that stutter step. How many people do that right before you shoot right before you take a shot in the course of the match, right? Very rarely do you see a stutter step, right? Maybe in a one-on-one with the goalkeeper or something like that, but you very rarely see that stutter step in a game. The other thing that for me with penalty kicks, and again we'll get to this in a little bit later, but we talk about how it is. I don't. It's not a shot to me, right? It is a good, solid pass to that back post, right? To the post in the back of the goal, right? That's what a PK is. And when you start to add in that stutter step, when you start to add in that, I'm gonna use my hips to make the keeper think I'm going left, but I'll go right. Then you start talking about how you're striking the ball differently. You hit a little lower, you hit a little higher. It takes power off of the strike, and you get balls that go wide, you get balls that go over because for lack of a better term, you're trying to be too cute.
Yeah.
And you miss the PK simply because not because the keeper saved it, not because you're not a good striker, but simply because you tried to be too cute, technically, and you ended up pushing the ball wide or pushing the ball over.
Absolutely, Coach. Let's move on to the goalkeeper here from their perspective. Some strategies. At the youth age, you're probably not going to be able to study your opponent's tendencies unless you've grown up with them. You're playing against a friend or a team you played 1,000 times, whatever it may be, but you don't see a lot of PKs or overtime PKs at the youth age. So I like to tell my keeper, watch their eyes, see if you can guide those hips.
Yeah.
If you see their hips going one direction or not, that's probably telling you which way they're going. However, the problem with that is your reaction and reflexes have to be within a millisecond of it. And again, it takes practice and repetition to develop those traits and those skills. So if you're a goalkeeper, yeah, it's great to work on your hands and your diving. You've got to work on PKs. That's got to be a part of your regiment on a weekly routine, I guess, on reading different players and see if you can distinguish between, are they going right or left? I'm watching their eyes. Am I checking their hips? Are they giving me indication? Are they trying to give me some misdirection? Reading that as a goalkeeper, especially at the youth age, is extremely difficult. But if you're practicing that, you can catch some things to help you along the way.
And one of the things I talk about, I mention the hips a lot, right? Can I read the hips? But I also mention, and you and I just talked about this in our shooter technique, body mechanics. I also teach to watch that plant foot, right? Especially at the youth level, right? Because you're not going to get a lot of trick shots and trick, whatever. But, you watch the eyes. Right? You watch the eyes, but then I always teach, hey, watch that plant foot. And if that plant foot is pointed left, you're going left. If that plant foot is pointed right, you're going right. And then it's just one of those things where, I don't know, Coach, we're at a 75% rate or so for the kicker to make the shot. So for me, if you guess the right way as a goalkeeper and you go low and then the shot goes high, that stinks, but you kind of won that battle, right? You kind of like, okay, I did the right thing there.
Yeah.
So for me, especially at the youth level, I like that committing early side of things. It's what for lack of a better term, is what I tell my keepers. Guess. Right?
Well, yeah.
Hey, can we see the hips? If we can't see the hips, can we find the plant foot? If we can't find the plant foot, then we guess.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, that's so hard to teach at the. It goes back to, we didn't even talk about this in the shooter conversation, but it goes back to that point where, especially at the youth level, how many shots just go straight down the middle, right? And if the keeper would have stood still instead of leaving their feet, they would have made the save, right? Kind of like the, just left me. What's the chip shot? Oh my gosh.
Panenka?
Yes, thank you. Good grief.
Hello.
Kind of like just like that shot. If the keeper just would have stayed at home, then it's an easy save, right? So I think those types of things really matter. And so for me, and I would like to get your answer on this too, you've coached longer than I have. But for me, I'm kind of the early commit guy for a keeper. Hey, I'm looking for 2 reads, the hips and then the plant foot, and then I'm just guessing, right? Do you coach it differently? Do you try to coach that reaction? Because I want you to answer that, because for me, coaching that delayed dive is, you have to have a quick goalkeeper.
And that's it. I don't really get specific in that terms, because at the youth level, the athletic ability of different goalkeepers can vary. You might have a goalkeeper who can dive tremendously, and you may have another goalkeeper that has the greatest reflexes. So you've got to play to their skills and traits that they already have and build on that. So if they can read that stuff, I try not to direct them too much. It's like you said, I want them to guess, but they've got to play to their own strengths,
Okay.
So I'm not focusing on the early commit. I'm not focusing on, reading this or that. If they're good at something specific, I want to use that to their advantage. So I kind of read off of that and go in that direction.
I really like that. We're going to move away from goalkeepers here in just a minute, but I think it's so important to just stress to the goalkeepers that are listening, or the goalkeeper mama that is listening, that 75% success rate for the shooter. I mean, that's 3 out of 4 times, right? So, and I think we've mentioned this on this podcast. I tell my teams in trainings, hey, if my keeper makes a save, and I count a save as they blast the ball over the goal, or they kick it right to me, or whatever it is. If my keeper makes a save, we should win.
Yeah, I love it.
If my keeper makes 2 saves, we better win. Right? And that's how I coach it. Before we move on, Coach, something we don't have written, but I want to ask you this, because we talked about this a little bit. I did a scrimmage with my middle school team and the other night, and we ended with PKs just for fun. We let everybody shoot them, so it wasn't like an intense moment or anything like that. But we're talking about the keepers. So, do you want your keeper, locked in that stance, knees bent, hands low, ready to go? Or do you want them doing the jumping jacks, the moving side to side, in that build-up moment, right? Do you want that type of movement from a keeper? Or do you want your keeper locked in? I shouldn't say ready to go, because there are some keepers who do the dance, that's what I call it.
Yeah. Do
the dance and are fantastic PK keepers. But, so do you want your keeper locked in? Again, I hate that. You want your keeper ready to go, or do you want your keeper to dance?
I think the word I use, I want my keeper to stay loose.
Okay, loose.
I think what you're looking at is a position of being rigid and firm and just ready to react and pounce. Or do you want to kind of bounce around, clap your hands, stay on that line?
Yeah.
The keepers that move on that line a little bit, you're playing mind games.
Yeah, and that's all it is.
Because if you keep doing that as they're approaching the ball to kick, now that kicker's like, oh, God, he's on my side. Now he's second guessing himself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now you might be able to have a chance to kind of wait for the ball to be kicked and react to it that way and hope he just mishits it. So I like my guy to be loose. Again, that plays with the mental part of the game, and that, we've talked about this before, that psychological warfare that we discussed previously in a few episodes ago.
Yes.
it's one of those things that the goalkeeper can do to kind of get that kicker to be, I guess, that choker effect.
Mhm.
Or do they have that clutch mentality? Now they're questioning, oh crap, he's not doing what he should be doing, and now I may not have to change my spot mid approach
Right.
on the kick.
Well, and so let's just dive into that, right, Coach? The choker effect versus the clutch mentality.
Yeah, when you're the kicker, it doesn't matter what that keeper's doing. You've got to just go and stick with what you've got.
Yep.
If he's moving side to side, eventually, as you're about to kick, he's probably going to end up in the middle.
Correct.
And you just got to tell yourself and believe that's what he's going to do. Because if I'm picking the right side and he's bouncing around, he's on that right side as I'm approaching, I better find the perfect spot then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got to believe in yourself to strike it perfectly. Pick a spot, stick with it. Don't have that fear of failure.
Yep.
You got to have that desire to succeed, believing in yourself, that confidence, that clutch mentality. You've got to just follow through and just get it done.
I couldn't agree more, and it's kind of why, and I think both you and I have done this. You know, early on in our training sessions, we say, hey, I need to know right now that if we go into PKs, who wants no part of it? And shockingly, you get some hands go up that, at least on my side of things, sorry, I shouldn't group us together, but on my side of things, I've asked that, and I've had some hands go up in my circle when I'm just like, yeah, you know, you're taking a PK whether you want to or not, right? Like, you know, those hands go, but you see that fear of failure versus the desires to succeed really start to battle itself out in within their brain, within their mental psyche, right? And so I think for coaches, it's really important to just ask that simple question. Hey, you know, the Tuesday before a tournament. Hey, we're going to a tournament this weekend. We're going to make the final game. What if that final match goes into PKs? Who wants absolutely nothing to do with it? And you kind of take out the mental aspect of that pretty quickly, right? And so, but then you also see, I mean, at the same point, and I think you can speak to this as well. You know, you have those hands that go up and say, "Hey, I don't want to do it," but you also have those players who you would think would never step up to do it, who are like, "Yeah, I can make a penalty kick. Let me do it."
I mean, that's the perfect scenario that a coach should be thinking about. And I've done the same thing, but I don't do it prior to the game. I do it at the game.
Okay.
And there's been multiple times where it's district championship. We've gone into extra time. It's now PKs. I bring everybody around. And I said, if you want, just like you said, if you want nothing to do with it, step behind me, go sit on the bench. It is perfectly fine. I'd rather you just be honest with me and be honest with yourself. Because even in the pros, there are players that you're thinking, oh, he's the real deal. He's their fastest guy. He scores a lot of goals.
Right.
But
why is he not taking the PK?
that doesn't mean he can handle
Correct.
pressure moments.
Yep.
So if I've got what I perceive to be one of my strongest players, doesn't mean they're mentally strong for this kind of moments. And just like you said again, there are players who are like, I'm taking a PK.
Yeah.
And you're looking at them thinking, I never would have thought you'd be that confident in yourself.
Absolutely.
You get to learn a lot about your players in these kind of moments. And that's why I love us both kind of doing this in our own little way, but it's the same concept. Players know themselves better than the coach, obviously. And if you've got a player that's willing to say, get me on the first five, and you're not so sure about their technical ability, maybe they'll surprise you.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the player that's going to come in and just do that power shot, knowing that they can get it done.
And I think that works both ways. So we can swing to the other side of things where, again, I mentioned we played a little friendly the other night. We kicked PKs at the end. And before I asked, hey, who wants no part of it, I pointed at 6 girls and said, you don't have a choice. You're taking a PK. Right? I pointed at 6 of my players. Hey, you don't have a choice. You are taking a PK. And one of the ones I pointed at, I could see the look in her eyes that she would have been one of the ones that was just like, I'm not taking a PK, right? So I think it works both ways that as coaches, we also have to have confidence in certain players to say, hey, you can make this 12-yard shot, 15-yard shot. So let's get on the line and let's make it. And to her credit, she buried it. And I'm just like, hey, this is why I want you on the line, right? So I think that argument does work both ways.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And there's enough pressure in these moments already.
Yeah.
And you and I have coached the school where the atmosphere is unbelievable. As I've already said, in a game, everybody's on the field.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching everybody. But in an extra time penalty kick shootout, everyone is watching that kicker.
Yep.
And that's it. They're not even paying attention to the goalie.
Nope.
Even if they're jumping around and clapping their hands, they're watching that kicker because it's all up to that kicker.
Yeah, 100%. And we're running short on time, but we have several things we didn't get to tonight. We could turn this into a 2-episode
It's going to have to be a part 2. Yeah.
But with that, with that pressure, with those comments, like I've told all of my players, but one player in particular, after they miss a PK, especially a PK in a big moment, right? It's one thing if there's a handball in the box in the 8th minute and you miss a PK, but then your team goes on to win 2-0 or whatever it is, right? Whatever, that's one thing. But to miss that final PK in a shootout, or to make that final PK in a shootout, there's just something about it. But I tell, those PK shooters all the time, and this would be my message to the players listening. You're going to miss penalty kicks.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just no way around it. No one is going to go 64 for 64 on PKs in their career.
And that includes the superstars.
No, 1,000%. Right? Like it's just not going to happen. You're going to miss hit. You're going to play a hope solo and she's going to make a save. Whatever it is, right? Who was the... Oh my goodness. It was the England match the other day. And she made it. But the first kicker for England hit the PK spot and fell.
Yeah.
Slipped and fell. And it was one of those moments where the goalie went the wrong way. But that ball was not hit with any power. That ball...
She had to retake it.
And then had to retake it and then missed it on the retake. So, things like that are going to happen. So I tell my PK kickers all the time, and the girls that kick PKs for me, hey, you're going to miss. And you're going to miss PKs that hurt and that cost your team the game, right? But if a coach is putting you on the spot in that moment, it's because of the faith and the confidence that they have in you, and you're going to make so many more of those shots than you're going to miss. We go back to that stat of a 75% shooter rate. You give me a player who I put on the spot in 4 crucial matches, and they make 3 out of 4, I'll take that every time.
The other side of that is what we say to our goalkeepers.
Absolutely.
Before the stuff starts. The goalkeeper is thinking, oh my gosh, this is all up to me to win this thing.
Yeah.
I've got to make 5 saves. You got to say, number 1, relax, take a breath, be like, there is 0 pressure on you. I just need you to try to make 1 save.
1 save.
Even if you don't save it, try to get them to have 1 miss.
Miss.
Hit the post, go over, go wide. But whatever it may be, if you can get them 1 miss, we're going to win this game for you.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Build that confidence in them.
Yep.
Keep them loose. A loose goalkeeper that is having a good time, playing mind games, is a keeper that's probably going to get you some help and get you some wins here.
Coach, there's a lot of things we can talk about here. Confidence over power, simulating pressure, the role of the coach. So I think this is an episode 2
We're
coming.
going to attempt to get a guest.
Yes.
Talk more about pony kicks, as this is one of those parts of the game that just isn't talked about enough. And even though it doesn't happen a lot, the intensity of these moments is very crucial for the development of those players' mental capacity. Folks, this has been the A.C.E Football Academy, and this has been your Friday Footy Talk. I am Coach Dunham. That's Coach Hamilton. Go kick some mace.